Okay, so we're getting a little further down towards our cash budget. We have done our sales budget, used that to figure out a production budget. We've used the production budget to figure out how much we need to purchase for direct materials, how much we need to plan to spend for labor, and how much our budget is going to be. And we need to use all these, as you remember from the first module, all of these are the components that go into a unit cost. And then once we have a unit cost, then we can use that to figure out the value of our finished goods inventory, which then goes into our cost of goods sold, which we can then use in combination with the sales budget and the selling and administrative budget to create an income statement. So we're getting a little closer. We're still not quite there to the end yet. And I got to tell you, this finished goods inventory piece is a little tricky. You definitely got to keep track of where you are in the process. So we need to figure out what our unit cost is. We already know how much we're going to have in inventory, but we need to know what we need to value it at. So we need to figure out our per unit cost for direct materials and direct labor per unit and overhead per unit. Okay? So that's what we're going to do first. Okay. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and show you this over here in Excel. Okay, our direct materials. So remember, we're using plain t-shirts and ink to generate screen printed t-shirts, right? And our plain t-shirts were $3 a piece, and our ink, we used 5 ounces at 20 cents per ounce, so that's $1. And you will notice, as always, right, these are cell references and calculations, right? So this is referring up to B30, which was where we put our initial assumption about the cost of a t-shirt. So if we look at row 30, here's our cost of a t-shirt, here's our cost of ink, and how many ounces of ink we need to use for each shirt. So as always, I am referring up above, right? And then we use that. Of course, all we have to do is just add those two up, and that gives us our total direct materials cost per finished t-shirt. Now, our direct labor cost per unit is very straightforward, because remember, in our labor budget, it was just 12.12 hours to produce a t-shirt at $10 per hour. So our cost per unit for direct labor, and let's go over, I guess, to the other slide and make sure that I'm doing this. All right, so that we're going to pick up from above was, just pick that up from here, 0.12 hours times the $10 an hour. So it costs us $4 for the t-shirt and $1.20 for the labor. Now, overhead per unit is a little bit complicated. Okay, so I'm going to unhide all these subsidiary calculations. I'm going to try to anyways. Unhide. There we go. Okay. Our overhead per unit. So overhead, as you remember, is partially variable and partially fixed, right? So it's our labor hours times $5 an hour. That's pretty straightforward. Right, so let's pick those up. This, for whatever reason. Okay, let's try this again. So our variable overhead is going to be our $5 per direct labor hour, which we pick up from here. And then we multiply that times the number of hours it takes to make a t-shirt. So that's going to give us 60 cents, which is what we are expecting. But then our fixed overhead per unit is a little complicated to figure out, right? Because we have a total fixed overhead of $6,580. So that's our total for the year. And we know that so we're going to have a total fixed overhead of 6,580, which we picked up here, right? We had our total labor hours of 646, 686, which we picked up from one of these, right? And that gives us $9.59 in fixed overhead per labor hour. We then take that and multiply it by the labor hours per shirt times the fixed overhead per labor hour. So it's that 0.12 figure. Where is it? There we go. 0.12 times the fixed overhead rate. And this is, I had that in white ink, so that's $1.15. Right, so then our total unit cost is all these added up. $6.95. So we're selling our t-shirts for $10 and it costs us $6.95 in order to make one, and that then goes into our finished goods inventory. Right, we know that I unhide this schedule here, right? We know that we want to end the year with how many in inventory? Well, we have to go up to our production schedule and find that number. Right, so we know that we're going to have 200 units in inventory. So again, we always use cell references here, so I'm going to pick that up from above. Our 200 units in ending inventory. Our unit cost we're going to pick up from this calculation here. So that means that our total ending inventory value is going to be 200 times $6.95, or $1,390. And remember, we use this to calculate our cost of goods sold, which is what we're going to get to next.